An illness prevents this couple from having kids, but an unexpected savior comes to their rescue. But before we start, please make sure to subscribe to M&R TV and hit the bell so you never miss any upload from us. Also, leave a like right now. Most couples get married and eventually want to expand their family by having children. It is the way of life to start a family once you have settled with your partner. But what about couples that are not able to bear children? This lovely couple that had trouble conceiving gets the shock of their lives from an unexpected person who steps in to offer help. We all know that children are the best gifts we could ever receive from God. This couple we are about to read about want nothing more than to have their own kids. What would you do if you could not have the one thing you wanted the most? Would you go to all lengths to make sure you get it, or would you give up and move on? This story is about the struggles and surprising plot twists that came about to this lovely couple. It's indeed a very beautiful thing to witness. If you are trying to have kids, or if you have kids of your own, then it is most likely that you would relate to this remarkable story of hope and loyalty. Nicole and Kevin got married wanting to have kids. However, fate was not so kind. Nicole suffers from a disease known as thrombocytopenic purpura, or TTP. TTP causes extensive microscopic blood clots that form in the small blood vessels in the body, where the victim ends up with low platelet counts. We all know that in order for a woman to conceive a baby, she must be physically and emotionally fit. If there is any problem regarding her health, then there is bound to be some aid effects that results in the child. The couple knew this very well. So because of the disease, there was a very high risk of Nicole and her baby to die if ever she got pregnant. It was a very confusing equation for the couple to try and solve. Since it was impossible to deflect the problem, the loving couple had to look for other options. They did not want to back down and tried very hard. They knew for sure that until and unless they tried all their options, they were going to be left with a puzzle in their heads and will never stop wondering what could be or what could have been. It was tough for both of them because they see their friends and other relatives expanding their families, while they could not even have one baby for themselves. Imagine the kind of heartbreak Nicole must feel being the reason why she and her husband cannot have kids. It would definitely take a toll on both her physical and mental self to know that she is the main cause for them not to have children. However, what was she to do when her disease is something she cannot wish away? If it was under her control, then she would have definitely made all the changes she could possibly make. But unfortunately, it was not for her to decide, and she obviously had to take care of herself as well. So as they searched far and wide for options, Nicole and Kevin realized that making use of a surrogate was out of the question. We all know that many people who cannot bear a child must use a willing surrogate that would carry their child for them. We see several celebrities, including Kim Kardashian, Tyra Banks, etc., make use of surrogates to have children. The couple reside in Long Island, where paying for a surrogate is illegal, as it is situated in New York. So it was clear that this option was not one that the couple could even think of taking. The couple's next option was to look into adoption agencies to try and adopt a baby. This is a common method used by couples or even single parents to have children when they cannot bear one themselves. If done right, it is both beneficial for the parent and the child, as most of these children are orphans. But again, Nicole and Kevin realized that adoption was no joke and that it was an expensive process that would cost over $90,000. They did not have that kind of money, and the risk of it not working was too much stress to even think about. Since TTP is not genetic, the couple wanted to try and freeze Nicole's eggs to hopefully be able to have biological children someday. Many friends of the couple had offered to carry for them, but due to various reasons, always ended up not happening. It was a growing concern which slowly transformed into a frustration that they could not help but just bear. Even if they wanted to change the circumstances, it was clear that this loving couple were at a dead end. Things were not going as planned, and the future did not seem so bright. They were slowly losing hope, and it was a sad time for the couple who wanted to have kids so badly. The couple was starting to feel like they were cursed and that they were unworthy. Since all of their efforts to try and have a baby was failing, Nicole and Kevin were running out of options. They felt helpless and insecure. Would you blame yourself if this kind of situation ever happened to you, or would you just forget about it? This kind of obstacle really does put a strain on a person's mental state and even a couple's relationship as well. The answer is never certain. As they were starting to feel like the chances of them having a surrogate grew dimmer and dimmer, things were about to change. Little did they know that all of their hardships and issues were about to turn into something extraordinary. It was like any other day, and the couple was still very saddened by the lack of positive result when it came to having a child. On a dinner date with the couple's couple friends, Sean and Liana, something happened. Since it was a random dinner date, when Liana made an announcement, it surprised everybody at the dinner table that night. The good news came so abrupt and sudden that the couple was not prepared at all. Liana wanted to step up and offer her body to carry her dear friend's child. The Berrettinis were over the moon. To see their faces, their excitement, I don't think they believed it themselves, Liana revealed. She just wanted to play her part in trying to keep her dear friends happy as a married couple who were desperate to have a baby. It's time like these that reveal your true friends. How many of us can say we have a friend like Liana who would sacrifice her whole body to keep her friends happy? Since she had been a family friend for so long, Liana was well aware that Nicole had been unsuccessfully trying to bear a child for the past 6 years. She had seen her good friends struggle and go through depressive times because of their misfortune of not being able to conceive a baby. During these years, Liana had her second and third child and could not offer herself as a surrogate, as she was still not done with having kids of her own. She needed to make sure that she was happy with the number of kids she had before stepping in. For Liana, having kids was literally a piece of cake. She had never gone through such a saddening experience like her friends Nicole and Kevin. Her husband and her were lucky enough to both be very fertile and successful in having their own kids. So after having 5 kids of their own, Liana and Sean were done with having their own kids. During all these years, the couple saw their friends struggling to have their own babies. At first, it was difficult for me to get a sense of why she wanted to do this, Nicole admitted. She's an angel. She wanted to do this out of the kindness of her heart. I was blessed to have 5 kids, and they are all amazing, Liana had expressed. When asked about her experience as a mother, I couldn't picture my life without them. To see this family so deserving, it broke my heart, she said, explaining how heart-wrenching it was to see her dear friends struggle so much with something she effortlessly made possible. To her, the best way she could possibly return the favor of Nicole and Kevin was offering her body as a surrogate. So after the Berrettinis had Liana as a surrogate, it was finally time for the couple to have their own kids. To say they were excited would be an understatement. The couples were exceptionally supportive of each other, and there was no denying that their bond was real. Sean had assisted Liana with her hormone shots that would prepare her body to accept the implantation of the embryos formed by Nicole's eggs and Kevin's sperm. So, as soon as her boy was ready, it was time for the first in vitro fertilization, or IVF attempt. But sadly, this proved to be unsuccessful again, resulting in yet another episode of heartbreak. Was this ever going to end? Will the couple ever get to experience the blessing of having a child? Even though this obviously left the couple in despair, they decided to toughen up and march on. They were not going to go down without a fight, and they were not about to lose this fight. They did not want to lose hope, so they tried for the second time. This time, the IVF proved to be successful. They would regularly go for checkups. Sometimes they would even show up twice a week. Both of the Fives and the Berrettinis were all very excited that all 4 were present at 95% of all their appointments. If you have waited as long as Nicole and Kevin waited for this good news, you can only imagine the kind of happiness and relief they must be feeling. So it came as no surprise that they wanted to share this golden news to the people that matter most to them. This IVF pregnancy started in the month of June back in 2015. When Labor Day came, they were getting ready for the announcement party. They had 60 guests that included the Fives' 5 kids, aged 1 to 13. It was such a happy day, and the couple announced that they would have twins, a boy and a girl. There was so much speculation and confusion going on between the guests. They did not really know why they had been invited to this gathering, as the invitation was not so clear about what party it was. They were all in for a very big surprise. The guests were obviously very intrigued because surrogates are not so common to see every day. Most people that attended the party had the same question of how Liana would be able to give up the kids. "Their buns, my oven," she would respond. "I will always have a connection to the twins, but I had a problem with letting them go." We all know how long it takes for a pregnant mother to wait until she can finally give birth. To this couple, it seemed like a lifetime because they had to wait for such a long time until they finally met someone who could help. After a long 9 months of waiting, it was finally time for Liana to give birth. Since one of the twins was breech, which meant that it hadn't turned to be head down yet, there was a slight problem. In the end, they decided that the babies would have to be born by opting for a C-section. The time that the desperate couple had been waiting for all these years was finally coming true. To say that they were overjoyed could not even begin to explain how they truly felt. As of February 10th, little Dominic was welcomed, followed a few minutes by Luciana. And the two were born happy and healthy. The Berrettinis were allowed to stay in the room while the twins were being delivered. "I felt hot and dizzy," Nicole said. She went on saying, "We saw the whole thing." There was one thing that the couple wanted to do for their couple's friends, who had been such an essential part in the possibility of them having a baby. As you might have guessed, Nicole and Kevin obviously made Liana and Sean their godparents. The couples became closer than ever and shared an unbreakable bond. "I don't have a sister, but I'd consider her like that," explained Nicole. "We don't hold back, we are open, honest, and I am constantly turning to her for advice." Their words were indeed true, as their actions literally reflect them. So the surrogate pregnancy happened successfully, and there were no such problems that could jeopardize the health of anyone involved. It would have been devastating if there had been any problem during the birth of the twins. The emotional turmoil would have probably driven Nicole and Kevin off the charts. Nicole even said she still can't process Liana's altruistic act. "Every time I look at the babies, it reminds me of what she went through. She never complained, ever," Nicole further explained. So in the end, the only thing the couple felt in their heart after yearning for babies was gratitude. Indeed, there was so much they were thankful for. On top of the list was Liana and Sean, who had basically sacrificed everything for them. Kevin also expressed his gratitude, saying, "Liana and Sean saved us." During the time they were looking for options, Kevin revealed that he and Nicole had hit rock bottom. "And you think it's the end of the road. We are literally blessed, there are no words." They were over the moon to finally have their own biological kids at long last. "We have a strong faith," Nicole adds, "and I believe things happen for a reason, and I believe that energy you put in comes full circle, and I think it will with her." The couple has credited the Fives for changing their mindset to see the positive aspects in life. If it was not for their unselfish act, they could never have their own babies. The blessing was double because they had a boy and a girl. It was more than they could have asked for. They now have a better perspective on looking at things and finding the silver lining, and are truly an example of the positive things that come out of never losing hope. There's yet another funny point that needs to be made regarding this couple's new babies. It is funny to note that the twins are technically not Kevin and Nicole's kids yet. Since they were not technically birthed by Nicole, there was one thing that they needed to do legally. "The kids aren't on our birth certificate yet," Nicole revealed. "We have to adopt our own children that are 100% maternally and paternally ours." The couple does not fear the responsibility of the Fives getting possessive of the twins. So we can all agree that from this that sometimes the most rewarding thing we can do is to offer help for free. The happiness that Kevin and Nicole have is priceless, and no amount of money can buy it. This incident really shows us just how generous and selfless some people can be. Liana and Sean are truly commendable for being so selfless and devoted to their friends. They need to fill up this world with people like Liana and Sean, because most of us are always too busy trying to keep ourselves happy that we end up forgetting how rewarding it is to do something for others. Here are 5 remarkable stories about surrogacy that would definitely tug your heartstrings. Just make sure you have a tissue near you. Joe and Paul Coombe are a couple from Britain who had experienced 10 failed IVF pregnancies and 2 miscarriages. Her sister Caroline offered to help and get pregnant using her own eggs and Paul's sperm. They had their son Charlie, who was born on March 30th, 2009. Teresa Anderson became a surrogate for Luisa Gonzalez and Enrique Moreno and ended up carrying quintuplets. So on April 26, 2005, she gave birth to 5 boys. She refused to take the $15,000 fee because she felt that the couple would need the money more than her to raise their boys. In 2004, Tina Cade's daughter, who suffered from endometriosis, was running out of options to get pregnant, so she decided to be a surrogate for her daughter and her husband. She ended up carrying 3 kids and delivering them without much problem at the age of 55. In October 2005, Jennifer Rutansky made history as the first person ever to have a child using frozen eggs. She found out in 1997 that she had Hodgkin's lymphoma. Afraid of being sterile, she froze 13 of her eggs, which she successfully used later. This Welsh woman named Liz Stringer had given birth to 6 surrogate babies and is now 47 years of age. When asked why she does this for free, she responds with a simple answer: "The huge emotional rush I feel seeing the parents' joy is what makes it addictive."